I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me all along my pilgrim's journey. Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me.
Well, hello there. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm so glad you're joining me. I want to talk to you today about one of the greatest faculties of mind action that we have, the willpower, the power of determination. You know, when we get determined to do something, it's like a stealing of the mind. I don't care what you say, I'm going through. When we make up our minds to go after something, when we become determined to get it, do you know that there's nothing that can stop us? We'll climb over a mountain, go round a bend, dig through a tunnel, whatever it is we have to do to bring
myself going back in my mind down in the hills of West Virginia. Mama was a faith-filled woman and taught us to love the Lord. She was always the way maker in our family. When times were tough, Mama would go out on that old back porch of ours and look up at the hills and begin to pray. She would say, I look unto the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He shall not suffer thy foot to be moved. Thou that keepest thee shall not slumber.
Painting and a paper hanging business. And they were known all over the city for the great work that they did. But they worked around a lot of chemicals, paints and turpentine and all these other chemicals. Well, my mother got sick, and she didn't know what was the matter until she finally went to the doctor and found out that she and my daddy were going to have a baby. Well, that would have been great news, but I mean, quite honestly, my mama was in her 40s and my daddy was in his mid-50s, and this was back in the 40s, so they were considered old folks to start with. But in addition to that, they also had been together for 25 years, and my oldest brother at that time was 25 years old. So here they said, here come another little baby. Well, they probably would have accepted the news pretty well, except that the doctor told my mother, after he told her that she was pregnant, he told her that she had to abort the baby. It seems that her heart had been weakened after working around all those chemicals and all, and the doctors, not only one doctor but 4 doctors, told her that she must abort this child and do it right away, because if she did not, she was going to die, and so was the baby. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what she must have been feeling? Can you imagine how you would feel if doctor told you that you got to kill this life growing inside of you, and if you don't, you're going to die, and it's going to die too? Well, she and my father prayed about it, and they both decided to wait upon the Lord. They decided to have patience and to put it in the Lord's hands. And so, as this life within her grew, she prayed, and so did my father. And so did the church members pray that she might be able to.
This rusty, crusty old stage of 65, and I like to call myself a juicy crony. You know, most of the time when we get old, especially women, they always want to say we dried up. Honey, I'm here to say no such a thing. There might be snow on the rooftop,
But honey, there's plenty of fire still left in the belly. Refused to accept the limitations that people wanted to put on her. She decided she was going after her dream. She didn't care what anybody said. She plucked up her courage and she applied to every aviation school in America that she could. And of course, they all turned her down. But she still was not defeated. She didn't give up hope. She didn't give up trying. And pretty soon, people started helping her. In fact, the founder of the Chicago Defender newspaper began to help her, and he helped her to find a school. It was in France, a famous aviation school that was willing to take her as a student. But Bessie still faced a lot of problems because number one, she couldn't speak the language, and number two, she didn't have the money to go across the ocean and spend the time she needed living there and going to school. So she set out to try to help herself. She took a second job and saved her money. And she also enrolled in night school at Berlitz, going at night to learn French. And when she was ready, this courageous young woman packed her bags, boarded a ship, and traveled across the ocean to become a student at this famous aviation school. And when she arrived there, she was quite surprised when she saw the plane that she had to learn in, because it was a very dangerous plane, made out of cardboard, cloth, aluminum, steel, and wire. And it was so unstable that a lot of times it would take off, they'd take off in it, and it would, right in midair, it would stop and then crash. In fact, Bessie almost lost her courage because one of her fellow classmates got in one day and took off, and that's exactly what happened. It stalled in midair and crashed, and he was killed, and it was right before her eyes. And she said it shook her to her very core. She almost lost her nerve, but she didn't. She kept on trying. Well, in June of 1921, she received her pilot's license and became the very first.
Became a self-made millionaire at 14 years of age. He was the youngest person to have an office on Wall Street. And guess what? He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Some of us think you gotta be. He grew up in the projects on the south side of Chicago. But he said his mother used to tell him when he was a kid, said a library card is the best friend any poor kid can have. And she introduced him to the library and books. And you know what? I'm in total agreement about the library, because here is all the wealth of the world sitting right in our midst. And how many of us use it? You know, you can go to the library and find anything, any book you want on any subject matter. If it's something you want to do, somebody's written something about it. And if you can't read and you need to find a service to help you do that, they'll help you do that too. In fact, anything you want to know, if you can't find it, just ask a librarian. You know, they get paid to dig for information, and they'll get in there and dig and help you and point you in the right direction. Use what you got. Use what you got to get what you need. Anyway, back to my story. Fire Gray, he became a self-made millionaire at 14. He didn't have much, but he had determination, and he had a lot of spunk about it, and he knew how to hustle. And he started out selling rocks that he picked up and painted for himself and sold them as bookends door to door, along with some homemade lotion that he came up with. And those two little ideas started him on his way to become a wealthy man. What's your idea? What are you sitting on? been sitting on a gold mine for years. Isn't it time to get started? To get up and be about making.
Away in a manger, no crib for a bed. The little Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head.
Better to be a first rate whoever you are than a second rate somebody else. Run your own race, because if you will run your own race, then what will happen is the world will become a better place. I thought about Marlo Thomas for this show because Marlo wrote a book called The Right Words at the Right Time. You know, she is the daughter of the famous Danny Thomas, and she also was a great actress in her own right. But she said she loved her daddy so much, and when she was growing up, she said she just always wanted to be like her father. That was her dream. She wanted to go to school and become an actress. Well, when she was 17 years old, she landed a lead role in a play called Gigi that was being held at a famous theater in California. And she was so excited because she figured, now they're finally going to realize that I'm a grown-up actress. But her feathers fell because when the press came to interview her, all they wanted to do was compare her to her father. Or was she as funny as her daddy? Could she act like her daddy? Or would the people in the audience love her like her daddy? Oh boy, she was so disappointed. Well, when she went home, her father was there, and she sat down and told him all about it because she was very despondent by that time. And after she got through, she looked at him. She said, "Daddy, I love you, but I don't think I'm thinking seriously about changing my last name from Thomas." Well, her father got quiet. And when she looked at his face, she could see she had really hurt him. Almost made her cry. But then he spoke. He said, "Baby, I raised you to be a thoroughbred. You know, when the horses run thoroughbreds, they put blinders on. They hear the audience chanting and shouting and stamping their feet, but they don't see them because they're busy running their own race. They hear the hoof beats of the horses side by side that are beside them, but they don't see them. They run their own race. They are champions. Baby, run your own race. Run your own race. Don't worry about somebody trying to compare you to me. Don't be concerned about what other people think, whether you're as good as they are or not as good as they are. Just put your blinders on and run your own race." Well, the next evening, Marlo was in her dressing room. She was getting ready for the curtains to go up when a knock came at her door. She went to the door, and the stage manager handed her a little white box, had a little pretty bow on top of it. She opened it up, and inside was a pair of old horse blinders with a note from her father that said, "Run your own race, baby. Run your own race." Through the years, Marlo said, when she was faced with difficulties involved in things that she wasn't sure how she felt about them, She would sit down and take stock of herself and always remember what her father had said. And then she would ask herself, am I running my own race, or am I running somebody else's?